Imagine opening your property tax bill one morning and feeling your stomach tighten before you even unfold the paper. But what if this time, instead of dread, you saw something different, a sign that your state had finally decided to rewrite the rules? Across America, 7 states are quietly changing how property taxes work, and the ripple effect could reshape retirements, neighborhoods, even family legacies. Some of these reforms could put thousands of dollars back into your pocket. Others could take them away overnight. Either way, the landscape is shifting. So before you plan your next move or decide where to retire, you'll want to know what's really happening. Let's start with Montana, a state better known for its mountains than its math. But recently, Montana pulled off something most policymakers only talk about, a property tax system that actually feels fair. Here, the owner of a $300,000 cabin in Billings pays a rate so low it almost seems impossible, while the buyer of a multi-million-dollar lodge near Glacier National Park shoulders more of the burden. For the first time, the tax code distinguishes between a working family and a luxury estate owner. The relief is tangible. For many households, it's the difference between keeping their land and losing it. Yet what makes this story powerful isn't just the savings, it's the signal. If a modest state like Montana can make common sense the law, what stops the rest of the country from doing the same? Montana's new approach goes beyond numbers. It protects a way of life. In towns where people still wave at each other on Main Street, a fair tax means families can stay rooted instead of being priced out. Think about it, in states like New Jersey or Illinois, middle-class homeowners can pay $8,000 to $12,000 a year in taxes. In Montana, that same family might pay less than $2,500. That gap isn't just a statistic, it's months of groceries, medicine, or a used car for a grandchild. And here's the twist, the plan didn't come from pressure groups or billion-dollar committees. It came from residents who simply said, enough. The message to the rest of America is clear, change can start anywhere. Travel a few thousand miles southeast, and you'll find another revolution brewing in Florida. For decades, retirees flocked there chasing warmth and low taxes, only to discover their tax relief shrinking as inflation crept higher each year. That ends now. Florida has tied its homestead exemption directly to inflation, so when prices rise, your protection rises with them. Imagine your exemption growing automatically instead of losing value in silence. It's simple, elegant, and overdue. A retired couple in Tampa who once watched their savings erode can finally exhale knowing the numbers will keep pace with reality. This reform might look technical on paper, but emotionally, it's a lifeline. A few $100s saved can mean a month's worth of utilities, medication, or groceries. For many on fixed incomes, that's the line between stability and stress. And here's where Florida takes it further: no state income tax, year-round sunshine, and a healthcare system designed around retirees. Combine those with property tax relief that grows with inflation, and you get something rare in today's economy: predictability. Yet, even paradise has a warning. Insurance costs and hurricanes remain wild cards. Still, by linking taxes to inflation, Florida sends a message to every state struggling with affordability: it's possible to protect the people who built your communities instead of pushing them out. If that sounds promising, wait until you hear what Texas has done. Imagine your governor announcing a $50 billion plan to cut property taxes, one of the largest in American history. That's not a headline from decades ago, it's happening right now. Texas boosted its homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000, meaning a big chunk of your home's value is shielded from taxation. For the average homeowner, that translates to hundreds saved every year, not life-changing alone, but powerful when stacked with Texas's already low cost of living. Picture it: no state income tax, affordable homes, and energy prices that don't drain your wallet. Even as Austin's tech boom sends prices upward, Texas still gives you more square footage for half the cost of coastal cities. The economy hums with opportunity: energy, healthcare, manufacturing, and your paycheck stretches further. But here's the catch: the $50 billion relief package relies heavily on state surpluses. It's a temporary bandage that might need new funding later. Yet for millions of Texans today, the relief is real, their mortgage checks feel lighter, their budgets breathe easier, and the envelope that used to bring dread now brings a hint of relief. What would it mean if your state tried something that bold? Before we go further, if you find these insights valuable, if you're thinking about where you'll spend your next chapter or simply want to stay ahead of changes that affect your wallet, take a moment right now to like this video, leave a quick comment about your state, and subscribe to Retire Global. We share updates that could literally save you thousands or help you choose the retirement haven that feels right. It's free, it helps more people discover this information, and it ensures you don't miss the next big shift coming to your mailbox. Now, let's move to the Midwest, where Ohio has quietly done something revolutionary. It made accountability the law. Picture this: while families clip coupons to pay rising taxes, some school districts have been sitting on billions in unused reserves. In the past decade, their savings ballooned from $3.6 billion to more than $10 billion. The money was collected from taxpayers but never used. Ohio finally said, enough. Starting in 2026, if a district's reserves exceed 40% of its annual budget, it must either refund the excess or lower property tax rates. For a family in Columbus, that might mean a few $100s returned each year. For retirees in Cleveland, it could mean heating bills paid during winter or medication that no longer gets postponed. It's not just a refund, it's a restoration of trust. The message is simple: taxes should serve the community, not build hidden stockpiles. And because Ohio's housing market remains affordable, median homes around $200,000 to $250,000, those savings actually matter. Pair that with low utilities, major hospitals, and accessible universities, and Ohio looks less like flyover country and more like a model for sustainable living. But there's an unspoken question here. If one state can hand money back to taxpayers, what stops others from doing the same? Now, shift west again to California, where the story takes a sharper turn. Imagine inheriting your parents' family home, a place full of memories, only to learn your property tax will jump from $500 to $25,000 a year. That's the brutal reality of Proposition 19. If you inherit a home but don't move into it, California now reassesses the property at current market value. Many families who thought they were preserving generational wealth suddenly have to sell just to cover the tax bill. It feels like the system punishes loyalty, punishes family continuity. But in the same breath, Proposition 19 offers relief for others. Seniors over 55, disabled residents, and wildfire victims can now transfer their low property tax base to a new home, even if it's more expensive. For a retired couple downsizing in San Diego or moving closer to family in Sacramento, that flexibility is gold. They keep their low rate and gain a new start. Still, the trade-off stings. Younger families often find themselves shut out of home ownership, while older ones cling tightly to every exemption they can. California's climate, economy, and lifestyle remain unmatched, but so are its costs. The question lingers: can even paradise sustain a system that prices its own residents out? If you think California's issues sound dramatic, Pennsylvania's story borders on surreal. Some counties there haven't reassessed property values since the 1970s. That means a mansion built 50 years ago could still be taxed as if it were a starter home, while a young couple down the street pays full freight at today's inflated prices. The imbalance is staggering, one family paying 10 times what another does for the same local services. After decades of frustration, reform is finally underway. Counties are being forced to modernize their assessments, bringing long overdue fairness to the system. The process won't be painless. Some longtime homeowners will see their bills rise sharply when the numbers catch up to reality. But for others, especially first-time buyers and retirees trying to plan, it's a breath of justice. And here's what makes Pennsylvania intriguing: even with these adjustments, the state remains affordable. Median home prices sit well below those of nearby New York or Washington, D.C., at historic towns, excellent hospitals, and a manageable cost of living, and Pennsylvania may soon become one of the most balanced places to live in the Northeast. Yet, as fairness returns, the deeper question surfaces: how did such inequality last for half a century before anyone acted? Head south to Georgia, and the issue flips again. Between 2019 and 2025, property taxes there shot up a staggering 52%. Homeowners in Atlanta watched bills soar faster than paychecks. One resident put it simply, "My taxes went up more than my salary." Imagine working hard, paying your mortgage, and still falling behind because the system keeps taking more. The backlash was fierce. Retirees on fixed incomes panicked. Families debated selling. Public outrage finally forced change. Georgia tightened oversight on property assessments and expanded exemptions for seniors and disabled veterans. The relief isn't perfect, but it's a start. Georgia's challenge mirrors America's dilemma. How do you embrace growth without punishing the people who built your communities? Atlanta's booming economy, tech, film, finance, is attracting newcomers and inflating prices. The state offers opportunity and lower costs than the coasts, but unchecked taxes could erase that advantage. By stepping in now, Georgia sends a signal that fairness isn't optional. And for retirees looking south, it proves that warm weather isn't the only reason to move. Sometimes, smart policy matters just as much as sunshine. When you look at these 7 states together, Montana, Florida, Texas, Ohio, California, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, you start to see a pattern. Each one is rewriting the unwritten contract between citizens and government. Montana says fairness. Florida says protection. Texas says ambition. Ohio says accountability. California says complexity. Pennsylvania says correction. Georgia says resistance. Every change, whether it adds or subtracts from your bill, reshapes what homeownership means in America. But here's the bigger picture that few people talk about. Property tax reform isn't just about money, it's about identity. It decides who gets to stay in their home, who gets pushed out, and who can pass something on to their children. For retirees especially, the stakes couldn't be higher. A predictable tax bill is the foundation of a stable retirement. Lose that, and everything from healthcare to housing to peace of mind starts to wobble. Across the map, states are taking sides, some rewarding long-time residents, others recalibrating to chase new revenue. Yet one truth cuts through: when the tax code feels fair, people invest in their communities. When it feels rigged, they leave. That's why these reforms matter far beyond the spreadsheets. They determine whether small towns survive, whether retirees can age in place, and whether the next generation believes the system still works for them. So, where does that leave you? Maybe you're already retired and wondering if your state will follow suit. Maybe you're planning your next move, someplace quieter, cheaper, warmer. Or maybe you're simply curious how these policies ripple into the housing market. Here's what to watch. States facing population loss or affordability crises will likely adopt Montana's or Florida's model: relief for modest homeowners, fairness for seniors. States with surpluses may imitate Texas, throwing big money at temporary fixes. And high-cost states like California may keep tightening the rules to plug budget gaps, even at the expense of families trying to stay put. The decisions made today will echo for decades. If your property tax bill already makes you nervous, now's the time to pay attention, because these 7 states are the testing ground for what might come next everywhere else. Imagine a future where your tax doesn't skyrocket just because your home's value did. Imagine a system that respects retirees who've spent a lifetime paying in. It's not fantasy, it's happening, just not everywhere yet. The smart move? Stay informed. Compare how each state treats homeowners. Ask your representatives where they stand on reform. And if you're thinking about relocating for retirement, add tax policy to your checklist alongside weather, healthcare, and cost of living. Because the place you choose to call home could either protect your savings, or quietly drain them one bill at a time. So the next time that envelope arrives, remember, behind every number is a story. Behind every percentage is a decision. And behind every reform is a chance to reclaim fairness. 7 states have already stepped forward. The question now is simple: is your state next?